Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 9th and tonight's movie is Goodnight, Mommy. I can't say that title in a way that sounds cool. Anyway, this is the first of 5 foreign language movies I'm going to be watching this month. And it's also the first one that has a female director. This one actually has 2 directors. I think it's an aunt and nephew pair, which I've never even heard of being like a director duo that way. Right off the bat, I can say that this movie has a lot of similarities in like aesthetic to Eyes Without a Face, which is something that I watched in the 2018 Horror Nights. Essentially, it's a single mother of twin boys, and she comes home after a cosmetic surgery, and the kids start to suspect that it's not actually their mother. Now, I've gotten the impression that there's like a shock or twist ending to this movie, and I think I can guess what it is. I don't know, so I'll see if I'm right. I saw the trailer, and the biggest impression I got from it is that this movie is kind of weird. There was a lot of like, not even scary, just like some gross things in it. It also definitely reminded me of the found footage movie Home Movie, when there was a part in the trailer where the twins put on these scary masks. Maybe this is going to be like the Babadook, and like you, at the beginning you think that the kids are crazy, but at the end you see that the mom is crazy, or except in reverse. So at the beginning it seems like the mom is crazy, and in the end it seems like the kids are crazy. I don't really know what to expect from this movie. I'll go find out. Well, that was bad. I'm giving Goodnight, Mommy a 3 out of 10. This review is not going to be split up into 2 sections, non-spoiler and spoiler, because the only thing to talk about when it comes to why this movie fails, which is pretty much most of the movie, is the twist at the end. So, real quick, if you're dead set on watching this movie, fine, I wouldn't recommend it, but anyway, let's see if you can figure this out. When the mom gets back, she doesn't even acknowledge one of the twins. There are 2 twins, Elias and Lucas, and she doesn't even acknowledge Lucas. She only talks to Elias. And when she makes food, she only gives it to Elias. And when Elias said, "Why didn't you feed Lucas?" she just says, "You know why." Have you figured it out yet? Pretty much from the beginning, it's made very clear that Lucas is not real. He could either be a figment of the imagination of Elias, or it could be like a ghost or something, but that's made clear very early on. And when I was looking at this movie on Amazon, one of the reviews said if the ending of this movie is super shocking to you, it might just be because you haven't seen a lot of horror movies before. And that's the reason why I said I heard that there was like a twist or a surprise ending. So that got me thinking, would I have been able to catch on so quickly if I wasn't aware going into it that there was supposed to be a twist? And I'm thinking it wouldn't take me like quite as little time to do it, but I would have caught on pretty quickly because just as a concept, it doesn't make sense. Whether it is the mom or is somebody pretending to be the mom, there is no reason why they would completely ignore one of the twins. And I can't prove this, but I promise you, this was exactly the twist I had in mind before I watched this movie. The idea is that there was a good twin and a bad twin, but the bad twin didn't really exist, and it was just the good twin having split personalities. Now, there's nothing wrong with a twist if it's done well, but this twist wasn't done well at all. Usually the thing that you do is that you have the twist, and you want it to be a surprise at the end, but in order for it to just not come out of nowhere, you gotta give little hints along the way. The problem is that there are those little hints everywhere in this movie. Pretty much every scene, there's a hint that Lucas isn't real. The mother only ever interacts with Elias. When they go outside the house and talk to other people, the other people only ever interact with Elias. But the biggest thing that gives it away is the stuff that they wrote in with the mother. Very early on in the movie, she keeps saying things that indicates that Lucas isn't real. It wasn't even that far in the movie when you hear her talking on the phone saying, "I don't want to keep playing along." Or she was talking with someone, she said, "Oh, it was horrible, the accident, the separation." She even drags Elias into his room and then makes him say over and over, "I will stop talking to Lucas," which there would be no reason why she would do that if Lucas was actually real. They were being so blatant about it throughout the entire movie, I was starting to get convinced that it was a fake out. Like maybe something happened with the mother and it wasn't just a cosmetic surgery, it was like a brain damage or something like that, which made her believe that one of her kids died. With the mother especially, they laid all their cards on the table way too early. That scene of, "Why didn't you feed Lucas? You know why?" That's like 5 minutes in. And the thing is, there could have been a lot of different ways to make this more subtle or to implant doubt in the audience's mind. Because something that they could have done was like have it so that Elias is like schizophrenic and sometimes believe that he is Lucas. And then you get to a point where the one of the twins says the other one's Lucas, go talk to her or something like that, where you believe it's Lucas. And then he goes up to the mom and they interact just fine. She doesn't need to say his name if they're the only two people in the room. Or they could even hint at the idea of Lucas being a ghost and have it so that, like, noises he makes, the mom reacts to. They could even do it so that, like, when Elias is sleeping and then he wakes up and then Lucas comes to him and says, hey, I did yada 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 while you were sleeping. And that kind of makes you think that Lucas is real, but it was just Elias, like, sleepwalking or blacking out or something. This movie kind of reminds me of Creep in the fact that they could either, like, do a lot of different things and change a lot to make the twist, like, more subtle and less obvious, or they could have been as subtle and obvious as they were and have it be a fake out, like if the mother actually was crazy. But even despite the whole twist thing, one thing that's kind of a problem with this movie is that there isn't a lot that's, like, scary except for just, like, the kids doing horrible things to the mother. I mentioned Home Movie earlier, and in that movie, a lot of it was the fact that you really did get to know the mother and father, and you liked them, and you wanted them to figure out what was happening to their kids and fix it. But in this movie, I didn't like any of the characters. The twins didn't have much personality to speak of, and the mother really was, like, mean and hurtful towards them. This movie wasn't as frustrating as The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and it has a lot more potential, but pretty much none of that was realized, at least to me. If you want to see this same general premise done correctly, check out The Babadook. That's a movie that keeps you guessing and messes with your head throughout the entire runtime. With this movie, it just felt like the entire thing was built around a twist that they're not very good at hiding. I would not recommend it. Alright, next video will be tomorrow night.